On this episode of the DTVC podcast, Tom Joliffe is back on to talk about his newest film, We Go Again, and we're also joined by the two stars of the film. We've got Zuza Tehanu and Charlotte Chu. This movie is fantastic, We Go Again. It's available now to buy. You can pick it up on DVD or Blu-ray on Amazon. It looks like the DVD is limited, whereas the Blu-ray, there's plenty of copies. This is it turns out this is the sixth movie that Tom Joliffe is brought to our podcast here, and this is another great one, another winner here. I think it has some scenes that are probably the most intense of any of the movies. Which again, he's given us some really good thrillers that he's done with Nathan Shepka, for example. And so to have this movie have the most intense scenes, but it's a drama. It's about a couple who are neurodivergent and the struggles that they go through the movie. Azusa and Charlotte just give such fantastic performances. And so it was really cool to be able to talk about this movie with them. So we do a similar setup to when we did Death Among the Pines with Nicolette McKeown and Stephen Kerr, where the early part of the episode was just talking about the movie in general. And then the second half, or probably not the second half, like say the first half hour, and then the rest of it is we discuss spoilers. I would say this movie's a little different from Death Among the Pines, where Death Among the Pines has twists. So, you're giving away twists in the movie. This movie is more like there's some really intense moments that I feel like are better to experience organically. And so that's why we did the spoiler wall. So, again, it's a fantastic movie. I think everybody involved did a great job with this. And it's not a movie that we typically cover on here, but I know from, between the guests that I've had on, when I look at their letterbox and I see what movies they've watched, this is a movie that I think a lot of people will enjoy. And again, you can pick it up on Amazon now here in the United States. I'm not sure when it'll be available in the UK. So, watch this space. We'll definitely share anything that Tom and company pass along. Also, the official Instagram, I'll have the link to the Instagram in the podcast description. So you can go and follow this movie on Instagram and support it. So it's always great. I always love being able to support indie movies, but I think, something like this is just fantastic. So stay tuned. Really great conversation coming up. And then next week, Scott Murphy from All 90s Action All the Time is back, and we are talking more Seagal. We're going to be talking about Out of Reach. If you know that one, it's a lot of bad Seagal ADR, bad doubling, but also Seagal's character has a pen pal in a Polish orphanage, and he decides to go and rescue her when she stops responding to him. So, fascinating movie, just another one with a ton of great Seagal bingo card moments in it, and so fun conversation Scott and I have. So stay tuned for that. That'll be next week, so keep an eye out for that one. Now in terms of the site, this past weekend we covered Drag Strip Girl as our last review. I say this weekend, I ended up doing the review on Monday. Full disclosure, I went Sunday to see a basketball game in Brooklyn, Brooklyn Nets game. And when I got back, I was like, I'm not going to be able to watch this. Also, I was recording a new episode of the podcast that's coming out probably in May with Sean Malloy from I Must Break This Podcast. We looked at Assassination Game, so keep an eye out for that one in May. But I wanted to get that watched and get that one ready for the review. So then I did the Drag Strip Girl review on Monday. So technically not on the weekend, right? Technically on Monday, but it was there. Now, hopefully it'll be this weekend will be the next review, and it will be our PM one for April. We'll be looking at Midnight Warrior, so keep an eye out for that. And then you also probably noticed on the weekend, we posted a review of The Job, a short film that was submitted by producer Joe Williamson. So he has produced, but also he submitted some really good ones for us, and The Job was a great one. I think it's about 12 minutes long. It's currently making its way through the festival circuit, so keep an eye out for it. If you go to any film festivals, you might be able to see it there. But it stars out LaJohn Stewart as a guy looking for a job, and then he encounters an AI HR admin played by Donna Lee Heising, and just really, really fun movie. I shouldn't say fun. It's really it's really profound. I think the way it covered a lot of intriguing, maybe is the best way to describe it. It was a very intriguing movie, the way it covered a lot of these aspects, and the way you don't know necessarily if it's AI or not, that LaJohn's character is experiencing. His character's name is Todd. So I really enjoyed that one. The review was on the Substack. I was thinking, I couldn't review. I don't review shorts on the main site. We just do movies. I think the only time we ever did something that wasn't a movie was when I did the 400th post where I talked about the Van Damme Film Festival. and I guess Maximum Potential. When I reviewed that, I guess that's technically not a movie either. But for the most part, we do feature length films on the site. So I wanted to review the short as well. So you can check that out on the Substack. The Substack link is in the podcast description, so you can check that out as well. Yeah, and then other stuff that I've done. Exploding Helicopter may or may not have an episode on April 1st, and if they do, or if he does, I will be on that one, and we may or may not be talking about Red Dawn. So keep an eye out for that for the Exploding Hell. I believe this episode is going to post after his episode has posted. So hopefully I'm not spoiling anything for his April Fool's Day stuff. But anyway, keep an eye on the Exploding Helicopter world. So I was on also in March. We talked about White House Down. So I did back-to-back episodes for the Exploding Helicopter podcast. I always love being on there, so definitely check that out as well. No, I just wanted to say quickly, because this episode, I'm recording this on National Trans Day of Visibility. The episode's going to air after, and it's one of the things that people have said to me, that you shouldn't do cold opens because people will go back and find your podcast and binge old episodes. But hopefully with this message, I think this will be an evergreen message, because I do want to get the word out that for our trans listeners, you are safe and welcome here. Just like everybody else, I want everybody to feel safe and welcome here. But I think it's important to make that message because we watch a lot of action films, and I think, the action film industry, some of the people involved in making action films, they aren't the most tolerant people. I think that's an easy thing to say. And so I want to make it clear that that's not the case here. Even if we're talking about movies and movies that have stars, that have people like, for example, Steven Seagal, that aren't that tolerant, at least we try to sort of make that point clear. And again, I want it to be clear that this is meant to be a safe space for all. And so, yes. So I just want to get that message out there, because I do feel like it's important with our podcast in particular, if we're talking about action movies, that people feel safe and welcome, that we want everybody here to be able to feel right in listening to us. So just wanted to get that out there. But again, on National Trans Day of Visibility, you are safe and you are welcome here at the DTVC podcast. All right, so why don't we have John Cross from Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures play in our theme song, and then when we come back, Tom Joliffe, Zuza Tehanu, and Charlotte Chu are on, and we're going to be talking about We Go Again. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Direct-to-Video Connoisseur podcast. As always, this is Matt here, and I'm joined once again by a very special guest. We've got Tom Joliffe, who's been on before, but also actors in the newest movie, Charlotte Chu and Zuza Tehanu. Welcome, both of you. Or welcome everybody, sorry.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming on. I was going to say, Tom, this is Tom and I were talking about this ahead of time. This is the 6th movie that he's written that we've talked about on the podcast here. Yes. So everybody's familiar with Tom. They know him. But Charlotte and Zuza, this is your first time on, so I thought maybe I'd have you both introduce yourself. So based on the order of the pictures here, Charlotte, you're first. I don't know if you wanted to go first.
No!
We can do Zuza first too if you want.
Come on, Charlotte.
Yeah, either way is fine.
Okay, I can go first.
Yes,
I can
please.
go first. Charlotte, you think what to say? Hi, everyone. So my name is Zuza Tehanu. I am an actress. I'm originally from Poland. I'm Eastern European, and I'm representing East Europe here because I'm the only one. And yeah, I've done quite a few films. I've done quite a lot of theatre as well. My background is also in dance and physical theatre, so I come from like a very movement-based background. And I'm also a musician, so I do all kinds of performing arts forms. I have my own band, and like I do a lot of creative stuff. And this is the first time I was working with Tom on this film. I was kind of, watching his work for quite a while. And yeah, when he asked me, I was nicely surprised, but I was very happy to work with him because I knew what he did before that. I knew his films. And also, I haven't met Charlotte before at all. I think we've met Charlotte just like once on Zoom to kind of have a chat about the roles. It was very last minute and very had to be very kind of energetic and impulsive and unprepared, which I think works well. What do you think, Charlotte?
Yeah, no, it was a really cool experience. So hi everybody, I'm Charlotte Chu. I am an actor with also a kind of physical theater background, movement background. But I have in the last maybe 10 years I have pivoted into film, TV, and voiceover and audiobook narration. So you may have heard my voice somewhere some point of time. Yeah, this movie was pretty intense. I've worked with Tom before. I auditioned for him right at the beginning of my kind of pivot into film and TV screen stuff. And he kept my audition thing for a while, and then I think this is not the first thing he's cast me in. He gave me another role another time. I think he tends to give me little roles, so this one is a bit of a surprise.
Yes,
I threw you in on this one, I think, didn't I?
Yeah, you totally did.
Yeah, this is this movie. So the movie we're talking about today is We Go Again, which is coming out right around the time that we're posting this episode. So definitely people should check it out. And it's very different from the other movies that you've come on to talk about, Tom. We usually it's either like genre pictures that we're discussing here, whereas this is more of a drama. But it's a very intense and a very moving film. I definitely enjoyed it, and I'm excited to discuss it more. But like you were saying, Zuza and Charlotte, that like your first time doing a movie for Tom, he kind of throws you in the deep end with this one because this is these were very intense roles that you both played.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's been a while now. Like we shot it last year around this time, wasn't it? No?
Yeah.
Was it?
I think it was actually 2 years ago.
No, 2 years
Two
ago.
was
Oh,
2
gosh.
years
No,
ago.
it's 2 years ago. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's been a while, but I remember kind of just going into the like reading the script and thinking, wow, that's a lot. And then there's a lot in the character itself. I don't know how, Matt, how much of things do we say and not say about the film? Like what are we?
Well, that's a good question because we'll probably do we'll kind of a spoiler break. So maybe we'll kind of chat about the movie just in more general terms here. But then maybe at a certain point we'll kind of take a break and we'll talk more about spoilers. So if you have things you want to talk about that have spoilers, then we can save those for sure.
Totally. So I mean, it's a film about two people who are in a relationship, and they by themselves are pretty intense, going through difficult things by themselves, and then their relationship. So it's like so many layers of intensity, all shot in one weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And I felt also that this script was like so detailed and layered, in emotions. Like when I first saw the script, Tom told me some kind of drama, something. But then I read it and I was like, there's so much going on, and I had such a long and intense preparation period before we actually started shooting, because I really like go into the script and to work in the character work. And it was like so many layers, like we touch on so many subjects. We can talk about some of them later, but I think my first impression was that it was very complex and it touched on a lot of subjects, because both our characters are neurodivergent. So they're living with like a different wiring. And then, as you said, Charlotte, they have a relationship, which is also difficult. So there's a lot of layers in their lives, and we kind of just get a glimpse of their lives, really. and there's so much going on. So yeah, it was very ambitious. I think it's very ambitious to kind of shoot it in a short period of time. And
Wait,
Tom, you can tell us, like, how did you get to actually make this project? Because that was very quick decision, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, I'd been sort of thinking about a few other ideas at the time, more kind of genre based, really. So horror or more sort of psychological horror. But I felt like I'd just released a film which was sort of psychological horror as well, which was The Baby in the Basket, which me and Matt covered as well. Um, so I kind of felt like I wanted to step away from that and also do something where I could almost just grab my brother, pick up a camera, and sort of jump in. Um, because sometimes you're waiting around, you're trying to find money here, there, and everywhere, and you can't find it, and so it becomes this long, drawn out process of just waiting for things to fall into place. So I kind of had this moment where I identified that, okay, I've got kind of like a little window coming up where I've got some time to shoot something. I could have done something a lot easier. I think, like you say, Zuza, it's quite complex with all the ideas, but at least in terms of like practicalities and horror stuff or action stuff would have needed a lot more time and money. But so I decided on kind of doing a drama, because you wouldn't know it from looking at my CV, but I do like watching dramas and seeing films that are a little bit layered and have a bit more deeper meaning. So yeah, I kind of threw myself into that. I did the script. It was kind of like a formulation of a few slightly older ideas I'd had. So I'd picked bits from other scripts that I'd done, and then kind of put them together. But yeah, I wanted to sort of explore this psychological relationship between the two leads in it, both having sort of similar neurodivergent issues, but as with anyone with sort of anything weird towards neurodiversity, everyone's kind of wired differently, has different kind of things that they have to deal with. So it's how those kind of elements combine between the two characters was a key thing, really, and how they kind of deal with it, individually and as a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, think about like the '90s where there was sort of this indie movie boom that kind of comes after like Pulp Fiction and Clerks and those kinds of things. You'd see a lot of these movies where there might be a neurodivergent character, and I don't even know if necessarily in the '90s we use that term, but there would almost be like a neurotypical character that would be like, I don't know, sort of fetishizing the neurodivergent character in a way, or there's a way that it was sort of treated in those movies back then that I felt like this movie doesn't do. That I really appreciated, that there wasn't a sort of a fetishization of it, or like there wasn't a neurotypical character trying to fix a neurodivergent character or anything like that. I think to your point, Suze, it's like a slice of their life that we're getting here. And was that something, Tom, when you were writing this, that you were kind of cognizant of that kind of thing, that you wanted this to make sure this was more of a human-based piece than something that might have been done before?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I wanted to do, one of the key things I was really looking to do is not rely too much on dialogue. I mean, that can have, particularly when you're working on low budget, that can have some advantages just in terms of the practicalities of the sound, not having like the highest end sound you could get, which costs a lot of money. But also, it's just that thing of, I wanted to do something where I wanted to give the audience a bit of space to kind of do the maneuvering themselves and kind of work out what they think the characters are going through. People watching it who might be neurodiverse might pick up on little moments in the performances where they think, those are little triggers that I have, or those are little reactions that I have, and we don't sort of draw attention to it. Like you say, like they might fetishize certain things like that in some films, or make a big kind of song and dance about it. So yeah, we wanted to have these moments, but not really draw too much attention to it. Just make it, feel like a slice of life. And at the same time, I wanted to kind of make it visually interesting as well, throw in a few sort of interesting dream sequences, because I'd been quite I'd quite enjoyed a few recent dramas which had, I suppose, magical realism in them in little doses. So yeah, I brought that in a little bit as well, just to kind of make it a bit more interesting than just an out and out sort of, taking the Ken Loach kind of very kitchen sink approach. That's a poem, by the way. No.
You just couldn't get out. You just couldn't get yourself out of the horror, and
Yeah,
just had to throw in some horror, didn't
I
you?
did. Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
a little bit there. Yeah.
So yeah, had to open with a sort of nightmare sequence, and then there's a kind of classic, one of those sort of classic recurring dreams that a lot of people have, and have these kind of vivid nightmares and dreams. So yeah, I couldn't quite shake it off fully, but I think yeah. But no, that was my approach. Really, was to do something quite different, and really kind of try and tell an interesting story without relying too much on just dialogue all the time.
Yeah, what was interesting for me as well when I read the script first, and actually regarding your point, Matt, as well about the characters, I totally agree that those characters here are like, I would say, like just normal people, because as you said, Matt, the characters that were neurodivergent, which is a new term as well. We say that now. Before they were called quirky or kind of weird, or they were like comedy character that just behaved a little bit differently, or like a nerd or something. So they were a bit fetishized, or they were like put on the spot for the wrong reasons, I think. And in this story, the characters, they just themselves, and they just deal with something that other anyone could deal with in their own way. So they're not like the features, and their behavior is not. Tom, you didn't say what it was. It was not good or bad or something that to be fixed. And it's the same about their relationship, which is a relationship of two women. And I also realized that after actually we shot the film, that many times the LGBT relationships are about specific LGBT issues or stories, but here we just have a relationship, which is like a normal relationship, just two women. But this is like it's shown as a relationship with a struggle that any other relationship could have, and this is beautiful. I really liked it because it's just kind of in a way low key, but it's very close to life, like to reality in this town. Yay.
Yeah, no, the other thing about that too that I think helps the movie too, when you talk about that sort of that fetishization of these things in the past, is that I think a lot of times there would be like a male neurotypical character with a female neurodivergent character. And I think by having it be a lesbian relationship, we also take it out of that construct as well, I thought, which I thought really helped.
That's interesting.
Now, one of the challenges that again, I'm not an actor, so I don't know for sure. But you both, Azusa and Charlotte, you mentioned challenges doing this role. It seemed like the biggest challenge is sort of walking this sort of knife's edge where you don't want to go so over the top when your characters have these more manic moments, but at the same time, it's got to be strong enough to sell it, right? It's got to, and I think, Azusa, there's almost like a meta conversation that you're having with the with your acting coach, Clara, about selling it, right? Like really doing it. But was that something that was kind of on your mind, that like, okay, I don't want this to be just like completely like, I don't know, not Rosemary. What am I thinking of? The wire coat hangers movie. I don't know why I'm having trouble thinking of the movie title. But anyway, sort of this over the top, kind of performance, as opposed to kind of like keeping it real. Yeah, I don't know if if there was a challenge in that, of sort of like not going too far one way or the other.
I don't think we talked about that so much. Tom gave us a reference for a movie that he was thinking about when he was thinking about shooting it, which was it The Girl with a Blue? How was the title again, Tom?
Blue is the warmest color was
yes.
Just in
yes, and so we kind of looked at it a little bit, and then I think when Zuza and I were kind of when we finally met in real life and we talked about it, and I think we were more kind of we were more focused on like the physicality of it, because both of us come from movement backgrounds, and there is a lot of physical intimacy in the shooting of the film. And so we were I think we were both really excited to have this commonality, this common ground in movement and physicality, and we were really just having a great moment discussing different things that we could do physically and how we could play and where our boundaries were. And so that was where, coming into the film, for me, that was the starting point. I mean, the later on, like, and very recently, I said to Tom, I think one of the hardest things for me in the film was, in the shooting of it, was not to get triggered by a lot of the issues that were coming up, because personally, I don't talk about this in the public sphere, but I have been bipolar. I've been, I'm familiar with different types of this, and this where you can't really control your feelings, or your feelings take control of you, and you just kind of spiraling. And so it was really hard for me to not go in there, because it's very attractive to me to be in a certain space where it's very easy for me to fall back into the loop, and I'm trying to kind of keep myself on the edge every day as it is.
Yeah, I agree, Charlotte. I think very much helped us to have the movement background, and we kind of, I think we rooted this performance in a physicality, and I think it was also great casting from Tom, because we kind of worked in very similar style, although we didn't know each other, but I think he knew us both. So then he chose us and we kind of, I think, connected straight away on being like physical, which means for me that is also truthful, and it's not going to be something that we imagine and think of, but we're going to be something that we kind of impulsively do.
Yeah, instinctive.
Yeah, so the instinct, but also we kind of, I think, focus on being kind of safe with each other, and so we can get vulnerable. But it needed some kind of conversation about boundaries, so we feel that we can be safe with those moments, because there were a lot of difficult moments in shooting that film, and as you say, it was triggering as well. I am neurodivergent myself. I have ADHD, and that was very close to home. Who I had to play. It was just like, it was literally some scenes Tom wrote like as if he was in my head, which was very weird.
Yeah,
Like he wrote about me, and I was like, how did he know that? I didn't say anything like that to him before. So it was very, very true, and that's why I think we did also some exercises before we started shooting to kind of like feel each other's space and feel safe, and also feel how much we want to do with each other. And yeah, basically the physical side of it really helped, and then it could get emotional, but I think we kind of decided also very spontaneously in a moment how much we want to go and where the scenes are going. So I think Tom also helped us in a way that he just left us alone, and we kind of improvised a lot of the scenes and just left it, as they wanted to go, as the emotions flown. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really great point that you both brought up, because I think, I think of me as the audience watching it and being triggered by scenes. I think the scene that was maybe the most triggering for me is the scene where your character, Charlotte, where Amy is drunk and Maria finds her and, is trying to sort of cope with that. That was a very triggering scene for me. But, as an actor, obviously you're playing it. So these moments can be triggering. And, when I was talking about Death Among the Pines with Nicolette McKeown, and she was talking about the sex scene that she has with Nathan's character, and sort of having to feel safe in that moment where you've got all these cameras around you and all of that. We don't think of it that it's in these other moments as well that can be triggering for the actors, that like feeling safe in the environment with the people that you're working with can really be important, because I don't think we get the movie that we get here if you both don't feel safe in those moments. But it can also, I think, as the audience, we don't think about what things are triggering. We just think the actor is playing a part, right? We don't always think about that these moments can be triggering for them as well.
Yeah, they can. And I think many years that was the thing in films, that the actors were kind of either forced or felt pressured to do stuff that was not comfortable, either in intimate scenes or any other emotional scenes. And it's still there, but I think intimacy coordination now came into into like a view in most of the films that there has to be one when there is an intimate scene, or at least there has to be a conversation about boundaries and about safety, and it's a very big thing now, and I'm really into it, and I really and we had a conversation about that as well, because I think safety, it should be like the basis of all the work we're doing. It's a very vulnerable work sometimes, and in many years it wasn't really. I think actors were exploited many times on film sets, and especially women, also children. So we really wanted to do that in a right way and in a safe way, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think you're right about that too, because it seems like the talking about things like the intimacy coordinator, those have come up more recently with with the story around that the production of It Ends With Us. And I thought there were, some of the conversations were not great around it, but I think the fact that it was drawing attention to that fact that I think that Blake Lively, kind of coming out and saying, like, I didn't feel safe on this production here, and here's why. I think it was good that at the very least that conversation was coming out, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just about, feeling safe and putting those boundaries in, but it just, when that's in place, you can actually come out with more truthful storytelling, and just, being able to play certain things, and being able to come back to ground, come back to zero, and come back to, where you feel safe, and where you feel correct, and where you feel centered. And I think Tom and Oliver were very good at it. Like, every time we did a scene, they'll be like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" That was very helpful as well. Like, I think the whole experience was very, very supportive and very sensitively handled.
Yeah, I think Tom and Oliver are very good to work with, like very, very supportive. We had like endless conversations before we started shooting, me and Tom, and also with Charlotte. But I think between me and Tom, I had so many questions. I had so many things I had to kind of clarify, or I wanted to know what he thinks, or about this or that. So we spoke a lot, and also because, as I said, my character and both characters are very complex, and the story is kind of also could go different directions. I really wanted to kind of know what Tom was having in mind. So we had a lot of conversations, and I really appreciated that as well, because it's not only the emotionality and intimacy, but also a kind of support, and like where we're going with this, like, the emotionality and the story could go in so many different directions. There had to be some kind of a vision, or someone who kind of knows like what kind of style, whatever, what we want in this film, what we want to say, because we can't say everything, right? So I really appreciated that from the very start, and before we went on set, we already had kind of a support in place, so we knew what we were doing, and where it's all going.
Yeah, that was something that I felt was always important, that I cast Lisa and Charlotte because I'd worked with Charlotte before, so I knew what she would bring to the table as well. And Zuza, we'd kind of worked with people in the same kind of network, so I was aware of Zuza through that. But it was just about allowing the actors to do their own thing, find a balance together as well, and find their own kind of rhythm there, and not really interfere too much. I mean, there was moments where that collaborative nature could make something change just slightly. It always comes back round to the overall story as well, but that's the main thing. But it's just about finding that comfort to sort of maybe experiment in a scene, or maybe evolve a scene in a certain way, and find this kind of maybe moments on set that we didn't maybe anticipate before we got to set. And certainly with a lot of the physical scenes, in terms of like there's lots of almost sort of dance sequences, not kind of choreographed, but it's kind of like this movement. And again, it's rather than having an intense dialogue scene, you kind of show it through some movement. So, you know, we just meet, you know, Oliver was very much concentrating on the visual side of it, making sure that was kind of all nailed down. And yeah, we tried to keep it very, very collaborative. That, you know, some indie filmmakers might worry that might slow the process down, particularly if you haven't got enough time really. But I think in terms of what you get out of it, you know, sometimes it can speed up the process. You can find something different that maybe you're not finding in that moment from the script. So yeah, it was just about kind of being able to think on our feet. And because Charlotte and Zusa had such a good chemistry together, you know, their sequences together, they were able to come up with these moments as well, just, you know, out of nothing really.
That was just pure luck. Yeah, no, I mean, listening to Tom and Zusa talk about it, and they're like, oh, you know, we had these conversations and we had that, you know, we had some time to think about it. And I'm like, I'm sitting here remembering and feeling a little bit jealous because I actually didn't have a lot of time to think about the character. I just got thrown in really last minute.
That's true.
Like I said, Tom
Yeah.
likes to cast me in small roles. He's given me quite a few little small roles in his movies, and he gave me a small role in this movie actually. And then suddenly he just goes, "Hey, actually, Charlotte, are you free in this weekend? Because I would like to upgrade your role." And I'm like, "Whoa!" So I had maybe a week to look through it and to think about it. And it was really, I just felt really, really lucky to have landed this to be playing opposite Zusa because we just really got along.
Yeah. But when I said we had a lot of conversations, I also didn't have much time. Maybe I had 3 weeks. Maybe I had 3 weeks when I got the script, and then I was like, I have to do all the analysis and all the character work and everything, and meet with Charlotte and talk to Tom. And I have only 3 weeks, you know. So like, you know, the landing lights was nothing. I had loads of notes. I have whole notebook of notes and explorations and, you know, backstory and everything. And I was working literally every day on it for 3 weeks. And it was so intense. I think shooting period wasn't so intense as the preparation for it. So it was very rushed, you know. It was very, I mean, not rushed, but it was very like short time that we had. Because
compact.
I think it
was very compact.
Very compact. I think it's to do with, as Tom said before, like he had some time and we could just do it, you know, or we could wait another, I don't know, year for another opportunity when
nobody wanted to wait.
Yeah, so we decided to do it, and okay, you know, like I think it went well, like, you know, comparison to how much time we had.
I think from starting the script to the first shooting day, it would have been uncomfortably under 2 months. So yeah, it was a very tight turnaround. Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that. I'd actually cast Charlotte in the role as Amy's sister.
Yeah.
And really only because I wasn't expecting her to be available, but I just sort of, we were having issues casting the role of Amy, and then I just sort of chanced it and said, "Oh, well, you know, are you available for the actual shoot?" So thankfully she was.
Yeah, no, actually, Tom, I wasn't. I moved a lot of things around for that weekend.
Now you tell us.
I'm glad you did, because I've said it before, but Charlotte saved the film.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a miracle actually that you were available. And
yeah,
it worked out. It was very last minute. Yeah, there was a bit of a drama there. We're not gonna probably go into that, but yeah, you saved it basically.
Oh well, no, I'm really glad I got. I mean, I would have gotten to play a part in the role anyway, but this is much more fun. This was much more fun.
Definitely.
Amy's sister is a pretty cool role too. Like, you know, just now we were talking about how like in a lot of films these neurodiverse characters just kind of people try to fix them, and I feel like with this one, like the spotlight's on these two characters who are, you know, doing their own thing, living their life, having their own struggles and their own challenges in their way and dealing with it, and then the people around them are the neurotypical people are around them
Yeah.
on the outside looking in, and that's very interesting as it's very, it's very refreshing, I think, as a different perspective for a film. Yeah.
It's a completely different point of view, isn't it? Because we look into their world and look from their
And the
perspective.
normalcy of their
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
And then we look at neurotypical people who seem, kind of out of place in that little world they're in, because they don't understand what's going on, and they, as you say, trying to fix or are completely oblivious to the whole situation. So yeah, it's a change of perspective completely.
Yeah, no, I think these are all great, but maybe this is a good place to or take down the spoiler wall. Because actually, I wanted to get into the characters that were kind of around the other characters. So maybe we'll take a break here, so that way people who haven't seen the movie can get out and see it. Or if you want to listen, these spoilers, I don't think they're going to necessarily. For me, I guess the way I think of it with these spoilers is that some of these moments in the movie I think are better to experience organically. It's not like they're twists and turns that completely change the movie. It's more like some of these things that I want to talk about. I feel like to come across them organically is better than it is to
know that they're coming up. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, so maybe we'll do that. We'll take a break here, and then when we come back, we'll kind of get into the post spoiler wall. My newest book, Mark in Sales, is available now. It follows Mark, who, over the last 10 years, has turned himself into the best possible salesperson he can be. And in that time, he's made his family rich selling cut-rate health insurance to companies that are either looking to save a few bucks or don't know any better. The problem is, he's missed out on the lives of his wife and kids, and the employees of those companies he's sold insurance to now have to deal with higher medical bills and the loss of previously covered providers. As Mark comes to understand the reality of the product he's selling and the toll his long hours at work have taken on his relationship with his family, his company gives him the promotion he's always wanted. Can he now throw away everything he's worked so hard for to make a career change? Mark in Sales takes place in the same world as Chad in Accounting and explores what it means to be an adult in modern society, from family and career obligations to making sense of a changing world as time passes more quickly. You can get it on Amazon and Kindle, Kindle Unlimited, and in paperback. The link is in the podcast description. All right, we are back, and so yeah, I thought we'd get into some of the spoilers because I think, to your point, Charlotte, talking about the Amy's sister Lucy, to me, and also talking about the fact that, as we talked about earlier, that a lot of these movies are told from the standpoint of a neurotypical character who is sort of is almost like the surrogate for the audience in a way, and this is not told in that way. The interesting thing for me, and I don't know if this was, and maybe this is a question for Tom as well, but if this was written this way or if I just picked up on it, but it felt like the very first moment that Amy has her conversation over the webcam with Lucy, and Lucy's telling her, you've got to sell the house, you've got to do all of these things because you don't have enough money and all of that stuff, and Amy closes the computer. It feels like it's given to us in this way of like, okay, Amy being neurodivergent, she just can't handle this quote unquote normal conversation. She can't be a part of this. But then we find out at the end of the movie when Amy disappears, when she's, when Maria can't find her, Maria calls Lucy to talk to her that, oh no, Lucy is trying to get them to split up. She doesn't think they should be in a relationship together. And that really Amy's closing the computer because she doesn't want to have Lucy tell her how to live her life, that she doesn't, that's almost like there's an infantilizing part of it, or maybe just the fact that she doesn't approve of their relationship and that's not her business. Was I right in picking that up, that it's almost like Lucy's or Amy's being gaslighted earlier, or maybe we as the audience are being gaslighted into thinking that like the characters are, that Amy's having trouble with this conversation because she's neurodivergent, when really she's having trouble with the conversation because Lucy's telling her what to do.
She's just having trouble with the conversation. Yeah. Like on all levels, like the conversation about money is, she just can't get her head around the money. She can't, like, for a lot of people, money is like, it's very straightforward. It's 1 + 1 = 2. Why can't you get it? But she can't. She just can't get it. Like it just goes and it disappears, and she doesn't know what's left. And how come I don't know what happened to it. I don't even know what I don't know. And she's just having that. First, on that level, she's having trouble with that conversation. But she's also having trouble with the conversation, like, it's Lucy, and they love each other because they're sisters, but they also have difficult things because Lucy's always trying to tell her what to do, and Lucy's always going to be like, "Oh, you're my sister, but you're my, you know, don't go." And like, and she like Amy, I think, goes away, like walks away from the conversation a lot because she can't handle. She can't handle the conversation, and she can't handle the emotions that come with the conversation, and she can't handle the emotions that she's feeling, and she can't handle the emotions that she's receiving. So there are so many levels that she can't handle the conversation. I don't even think she's thinking about being gaslighted or whatever. It's just, I can't handle it. I just need to shut it down.
Yeah, no, that sounds right. Because you know, when that reveal comes at the end, when Maria is talking to Lucy, trying to find out what we should do because Amy's missing, whether we should call the police or not, and that's when Lucy says, "I think you two shouldn't be a couple. You should split up. You should sell the house." That's when the selling the house comes up again, at the very least, I guess it added layers to the conversation between Amy and Lucy earlier in the movie. That it's not so much simply that she just, you know, right, like you said, she can't handle the conversation on multiple levels, but it's not simply that the neurotypical person is the one who's like, you know, so responsible and thinking about everything, right? That there's also emotions involved, that Lucy is trying to sort of tell her sister how she should live her life, and that maybe that's not the right thing.
Yeah, and I think there's also a lot of, I mean, you probably have, if you have siblings, or, you know, if you know, I think everyone has a person in their life who just rubs them, a family member, or a good friend from like a old childhood friend who rubs them the wrong way. In all good intentions, with all good intentions, just rubs them the wrong way. And that's also that, like I need Lucy because I can't do this, and Lucy's always been the one to help me, but because she's always the one to be able to help me, I'm like, she thinks that that gives her the right to say things, to speak into my decisions and into my life, and that is a real friction.
Yeah.
And that's a real difficult thing to process and to walk.
Yeah, one of the things I think is interesting comparing your character and Maria for you, Zuza, is that, you know, Charlotte's character has Lucy, and then, you know, her mother has passed away, and those are sort of the supporting characters in her life that she has. Whereas for you, Zuza, you've got Clara as a kind of a more supportive figure. You also got, you know, Tom. This is the first movie I think we've done that you've acted in, of yours, play Max. And then yes,
Another spoiler.
yes, but also we get Nathan Shepka comes in later as Alex, and neither of them are necessary. I mean, I think, you know, your character, Tom, Max, is a little bit more, isn't as bad as we find out Alex is. But this Clara character is one that Charlotte doesn't have a Clara type character in her life. But Zuza, your character, Maria, did have a Clara. And I thought that was an interesting juxtaposition there. And I don't know if that was something too, that when you're playing, you know, thinking about that Clara character, because obviously she has a nightmare about Clara, where Clara's not so nice to her in the nightmare. But having that person that at least she could lean on for certain parts.
Yeah, I think Mary is really looking towards other people to kind of help her figure out what's going on. She has quite a lot of people around her. She has Clara, who is kind of her coach, and also she has Alex, who is kind of also helping her, you know, telling her or gives her opportunities. But I think she still is like very lonely in this whole world. And I think the struggle of those both characters is, first, of course, the communication, but the other thing is that they don't really know what's happening to them. And I think this is the moment when many neurodivergent people are, that they have reactions, they are triggered, they have emotions, but they don't know what is it and why are they so different than others, and why they can't live their life in a normal way, like Amy is told by her sister, like just sell the house, do this, and she can't. And Mary is the same way, but she's chasing a career, she's chasing a dream, and she's doing a lot of stuff, or at least trying to do with herself, or make herself do stuff. and it just doesn't work because this is failing and this is failing, and she's also chasing Amy. And this whole thing, I think she's the person who's trying to make the relationship work. She's trying to fix things, and it just doesn't work. So she's stuck in this kind of a bit of loneliness, because people look at her and tell her what to do, but I don't think no one really understands what's going on inside her, and she doesn't either. So that's why we say she's in a like closed loop a little bit, to just repeating stuff she did before, and it didn't work and it doesn't work again. And it's difficult when you like, I know this from life so well. So it's just like a thing, watching this could be triggering for people too. But it's very true.
Well, following up on that idea of being stuck, one of the things that I thought was really great about this movie is the way costumes were used as part of the film and sort of telling the story. And there's that really powerful scene towards the end of the film where Marie is auditioning for this role that Max is giving her, where she's like a spy and she's supposed to be in Helsinki, and it's just like really kind of tight, like I don't know if it's latex or it's like sort of that the outfit, yeah. And there's that moment where she starts to get frustrated about things, and she's got trying to take this outfit off. And I'm so used to, obviously I do a lot of genre movies on my site, and it's just the characters wear the outfits they wear, and that's it. You don't see the process of them having to extricate themselves from it. But I thought it was such a powerful scene where she's trying to get this outfit off, and it's all these buckles and straps, and it's really tight and everything, and she's really getting frustrated by it, but it like in a way it's kind of like that metaphor for that being stuck overall.
Yeah. I think it was a metaphor for just being stuck in her own ways, in a way, or stuck in herself and what or who she is, because as I said, she doesn't know what's going on. Why is it? She didn't figure out that she needs therapy, for example. That would be probably the best course of action for her. But she's just repeating an action, and it doesn't work. And then she has also, I think, a lot of things in life that she kind of aspires to. So the career, for example, like this next big role, like I think many actors are very familiar with that just the next big role is going to be the one that just brings me everything in life, the happiness and everything. She aspires to have a great relationship, which obviously doesn't work, but so there's a lot of in her life that she kind of builds her happiness around, and then just it just all crumbles. I think I kind of had this idea of this kind of, ripping my clothes off, but because Tom really wanted something ridiculous to wear for that scene of that character that is completely out of character for her, for Marie as well. So she's kind of an actress playing another role in that film, it's like another layer. So I think it worked really well with, this is my corset that I sometimes, wear for the stage, for my circus stuff. So it had a lot of buckles and a lot of difficulties to put it on, and then really worked well when I had to take it off, and it just couldn't, So yeah, it was a good kind of symbolic theme, I think, in that moment.
Yeah, and I think for your character, Charlotte, with Amy, where she has to go into town and she's kind of dressing a little bit more professionally to kind of go take care of business in town or work. And there's that moment where she's kind of on the trail, because I think this is another piece. Maybe we'll talk about the settings as well here a bit, but where she's on the trail and she starts to kind of have this moment of agoraphobia, where she's not sure if she wants to turn around and go back or whatever. And it's almost this sense of like, while she was at home and she put the clothes on and she was ready to go and kind of sort of enter into, I guess, professional life or whatever for that day. The walk on the trail, it sort of triggered her, and she almost like the clothes didn't quite do enough at that point. But then she kind of comes back and she sort of sees Max and Zuza high on coke at that point, and she's sort of at it. But that was like kind of an interesting moment there too. I think is again how the costumes played a part in the movie.
Yeah, I think one of the things Tom really put a lot of effort and thought into was in what the different costumes we were doing. I don't know, Tom, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I had we sort of went over it a little bit in the development and the pre-production, such as it was. But I had very particular ideas on certain colors that certain characters might wear in between sort of given scenes. So they would have a couple of different colors that kind of represent maybe their mind state at the time. And yet each character has like one or two sort of particular colors coded to them. So yeah, we kind of we had a little bit of that, and so yeah, we did think a little bit about costume, which again, in this kind of like when you're doing low budget indie films, it often isn't even a consideration. I mean, the actors might turn up on the day and just wear what they're wearing. But yeah, we kind of thought, yeah, I was quite keen to do something where there were certain colors that might represent particular moods or states of the character's mind at that point in the scene.
Yeah, Tom gave me a good, very clear references and colors, and I had a lot of I had all the outfits like photographed and then hang on the hangers in my bedroom in the house where we were shooting. So I put a lot of effort, and actually I don't like it. Like, I don't like costumes so much in terms like I like wearing it, but I don't like taking care of it because I don't think I'm good with clothes, like I'm just not. So I had to kind of think about like what I'm wearing in each scene and bring my own clothes to that, and that was a challenge for me. That was worse than
I remember,
acting.
Zuza, do you remember we were saying that, like, because Tom gave us two specific colors, and he gave us so I and Zuza and I, we had to bring our own clothes in those colors, and then it just happened that we had a lot of each other's colors, but as ourselves, like I had a lot of colors that that Tom wanted her to wear, and she had a lot of colors that, and
it's
it was
complete opposite.
so difficult. It was funny.
And it was like, and then what looks good on camera and how to put it together. Like, I'm just not I'm not into fashion at all. Like, I just don't know how to do it. But yeah, I think we did well. Like, we kind of did coordinate, and I think it worked at the end.
No, I hadn't really thought about the aesthetic, but thinking back to it, like in terms of the color palettes, there were kind of unique ones that you each had, which I was thinking in terms of like the utilitarian, like sort of like whether you're in the cottage or you're out in the town, sort of interacting with the real world. But actually the colors themselves, that does work. Sometimes those things happen, right? Where they subconsciously play a part in how you enjoy the movie and you don't even think about them.
Yeah, that's the best when that happens. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one thing I was quite keen to have, is that maybe there were moments that people might pick up on if they watch it again a second time.
Yeah.
It's just little things, just in terms of how it played out. Because, as I said before, I wanted to do something that was more visual than, reliant on lots of dialogue. So, yeah, that was just one aspect of quite a few. So, I mean, if people pick up on it, that's great.
Well, another area that, has come up in a few of your other movies, Tom, is sort of the settings that you choose. And I think this one in particular, kind of similar to a couple of your other ones, where there's this claustrophobic feeling. And I think what I really loved was how inside the cottage, it was very claustrophobic, that the rooms were small. And also, the moment you would add a second person or even a third person, like your character, Tom, coming in, it made it that much smaller. And then how the characters themselves, especially Marie and Amy, how to get some kind of relief, they would go outside into the yard area and just sort of breathe and just sort of take that area in. And so I felt like that was a really key part of the movie for me, is sort of that juxtaposition there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was quite difficult to find that. Again, this was all kind of like the joys of doing something with such a tight turnaround. I just spent hours upon hours going through Airbnb and all this other stuff. But we really lucked out with that location. It's kind of set right in the middle of this country road, pretty much by itself. I mean, the nearest house is kind of about 30 yards away, just down another path, and then it's kind of backed onto another building somewhere. But we just, even from just like a practical point of view, sort of filming things and potentially having sort of screams of frustration and things like that.
And
I
the
wanted to
nightmare
set,
scenes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and having we had a couple of lights as well, nothing kind of major, but you don't want to be disturbing people too much, because we had a couple of night shoots on it as well.
We had Fire Dragon, didn't we?
Yeah.
We did, yeah. But I'll let Zuza talk about that one.
Okay.
But yeah, no, the location I thought worked really well. It's quite easy really, because I spent, like I say, just hours upon hours looking through hundreds of different potential locations. Nothing really stood out until that one. So it was basically a choice of one, and thankfully it was available.
Yeah, I must say the location, that cottage was so beautiful, with the like little wood just next to the garden, and garden surrounded by trees, and all the house was like really cute, and such a beautiful place we shot, and I was just amazed.
It's funny, Matt, you say that it was claustrophobic, because that house, that cottage was so nice. And Susan and I were like, well, we want to live here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it was how it was shot, right? I think the way it was shot, it looks so claustrophobic, right? Like the room that you both were staying in, or that you're sleeping in, it felt like the ceiling was almost coming in on you.
Yeah. It was quite low though.
Yeah, that was quite low.
It was quite an old. You get a lot of this in the UK, sort of old cottages.
Yeah.
They'd obviously modernized it and converted it, but the basic structure is kind of like very classical. So yeah, low ceilings in places. But yeah, no, it was a really nice place.
Yeah, but I think maybe it's also due to emotionality of the scenes, that actually what we felt was quite claustrophobic, like all the emotions in those like four walls, between us. And then, as you said, just to get a relief, you have to get out, and you can express yourself and shout outside. But inside this house, probably all this, what was happening between us, just felt, like suffocating. Yeah. So that was interesting in a visual catch as well of that.
Yeah, and I think thinking about the space. I mean, you have that really powerful scene, Zuza, where you're looking for a highlighter, and that was another one for me that was like very intense, almost hard to watch. But I think that's kind of important as well when I'm watching a movie like that, to be like, wow, this is it's really moving, but also, I'm having trouble watching it happen. But and then of course what you find, right, is you don't find the highlighter at first. You find this little baggie of cocaine that you have, and then when you tear that open, and of course it's possible that might have been it, right? That you might have just had that little bit, found the highlighter, and moved on. But then Max shows up, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm happy to do some coke with you."
That scene was like, it was, I think, such a good, well-written scene, because it's just things just pile up, like, and especially when you're in this emotional state, then it just piles up with other stuff that's coming and coming and coming. And I think it's also very true to how neurodivergent people feel, that you just start with a very small thing, this highlighter, okay, it's nothing, but it's just kind of spiraling into that bigger and bigger emotional problem, and then to just another thing, and it's just like that, it's very uncomfortable to watch, also for me, probably. I don't know if I want to watch it again. but it's the truth, that's what happens, especially when the neurodivergent people who are highly masking, which means they trying to look normal on the outside, and they go to work and they go to whatever, and then for the people they like know them, for their friends or even for their families, sometimes they just don't look neurodivergent, they just look like any other person, and then inside their house they crumble over a highlighter or any other small thing like that. And it's such a normal situation, everyday situation sometimes for so many people, and it just happens to you, and then it's just, and you don't know why, and then so this situation is like a inside, like a window to someone's very intimate home life, with themselves in the room only, because there wasn't even any other character in that place until Max comes in, you know. So yeah, that scene was, I think, such a good write. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was actually kind of perfect that it was Coke that you found, because then it kind of makes more sense when Amy shows up and sees the two of them kind of, Max and Marie dancing around, that Max wouldn't just be like, I should probably just get out of here, right? Like if he's high, he's going to be like, hey, why don't you party with us and all this, and not be able to read the room himself, right? And see that it's time for him to go.
Yeah. And I think also this, when Amy's character comes in, you can see another problem that there is, that they are both neurodivergent, but they're so different and they have different wiring. And you could say, oh, they should understand each other, but they don't, because
No, they don't.
because
They
yeah,
so
because
don't,
because
yeah.
Marie is doing exactly what Amy wouldn't like her to do, and then Amy is just backing off, and like, it's just, there's no communication because they're so different. And also, this is a very good point, because as Tom said earlier, like, every neurodivergent person is wired differently. Like, there's no, I mean, there's a lot of common ground, but there's just so many differences. So they can't kind of get each other in a way. Yeah.
In a way, that's the hardest part, I think, in their relationship.
Mm.
That's what makes them stay together, is because when they connect, they really, like, they connect in a way that other people, they don't connect with other people.
Yeah.
And just to have that kind of connection is so precious. And then everything else around it makes it really difficult for them to communicate on so many other levels. And then they have to pull away, and then it's so painful, it's so hard, and you find yourself coming back in circles, and like with the highlighter, and how everything just falls apart with one small thing. It's like you're trying to get together and you're trying to go away, and you like, you're stuck. You can't go forward, you can't go back, you can't get out because you need it, but you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah. And they have a lot of ups and downs. I think Lucy's character is talking about it, right? I think with the scene with me, with my character, that it's just, we have constantly up and down. Constantly it's perfect, and then it's just horrible, and then it's again great, and it's just like, other people relationships, they don't look like this, but their relationship is just up and down, up and down. And she's asking, like, how long you can get on like this. But also the question is, like, maybe neurodivergent people are like this, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the norm, or is it? I don't know. It's just, I think the film is also not really preaching. We just basically asking questions and showing how it could look, and then we don't know if there's a better way or not, or it's just how it has to be. Yeah.
Yeah, because it felt like Marie's character is kind of more trying to searching for endorphin rushes, right? Like, she wants that kind of like that positive reinforcement feeling, whether it's from doing coke or from Charlotte. I'm sorry, not Charlotte, from Amy loving her. Whereas like Charlotte, and I think that's why cocaine becomes the vice or the drug that she uses. Whereas it felt like Amy's character was sort of trying to dull the feelings that she has, and that's why she was turning to alcohol. But actually, right, when you try to dull something with alcohol, in some cases you make it even more pronounced. And that's where Marie wants, sort of rides that roller coaster with her, because she wants the endorphin rush of it all going nice after a bit, which I think was what made that scene so powerful when Marie finds Amy drinking, and she's drunk. Actually, she's been drinking a lot. And at first there's like a real physical confrontation between the two, but then they end up having sex after. And it's almost like this sense of like, Marie forgives it because she wants what comes after to happen. She wants that love and that endorphin from that, which I thought was a really, really big difference, like you said, between how those two characters are wired.
Mm. And I think Marie just wants it to work. I think she needs it to work. She needs this relationship as well. And I think Amy, my feeling was that she kind of gives in, and also maybe trying, but maybe not as hard, because maybe she needs something else. That's why, like, the kind of priorities also miss each other in a way. Like they're looking for different things in a way. in their lives, and that's why there's a chase and there's like a running away in their relationship as well. Yeah.
Well, and even the way Marie interprets it, right? Whereas like Amy just needs to get away, but Marie interprets it as she doesn't like me, right? She hates me. That's why she's doing this. And then even with the acting coach, where the acting coach is just an out and out positive force in her life, right? There's nothing really that the acting, that Clara, that the actor, which for people who don't know, that the actor who played Clara is Annabelle Lanyon, who she's been legend in 1980 Tom Cruise movie. But she's just an overall positive force, but yet still kind of the way Marie, especially when Amy disappears and things start spinning, it's like, well, no, everybody hates me, right? Everybody, nobody, and even talking with the acting coach, there was still that sense, I think, of like, it worked for a little bit, but then Marie's brain was going to start spinning again.
Yeah. I think this is also very, very well showed how it works with neurodivergent treat, like the rejection thing. That's what happens, that we interpret like not everything maybe, but many things as a rejection, rather than just someone just not wanting something. Like the rejection is like 100 times more hurtful and painful for neurodivergent people often, and then it turns into this whole world hating me and nothing works. And like it's a thing, like many people might find it very triggering or very familiar as well, because that's what's happening in our heads sometimes, that it just looks like this. And then the talking with a coach and with someone else would help for a little bit, like kind of calm down. It's to do with the nervous system, but then when the stressful situation occurs again, it comes again, and this kind of mindset takes over. And that's why then there's it's very hard in relationships with especially when the other person has exactly the same or something similar,
demons,
So,
when the other person's dealing with their own demons, it's just like, I mean, who's holding the fort? There's no one home holding the fort.
Like maybe before, when we had those neurotypicals and neurodivergent people in the relationship, then there was some kind of a balance, at least for a while, or at least the neurodivergent people could come to something or someone who would always be kind of there. But here we have two people who are on a roller coaster, but it's interesting that they're not on a roller coaster together. They are separately. They're spinning on a different directions, and it's shown very well in like different things they're using. Like as you said, Amy uses alcohol. Marie doesn't drink, but then Marie does coke and Amy doesn't do coke. So it's like they can't even get drunk together, kind of find some kind of common ground. They just do the things differently, and they use different things, to help themselves. And it's just like a tragedy, complete tragedy.
And I guess, Tom, as you're sort of writing this and you're putting all of these layers into you're sort of writing the script out. I guess that's the thing, right? You don't know how it's going to turn out on the page. And I think, with Charlotte and Zuza being able to bring it to life the way that they did, that's something you probably have to hope that it happens, but you don't always know that's going to happen.
Yeah. It's so the way I sort of looked at the film is I wanted to kind of take it at a point in time in their relationship where they're going through this kind of cycle again and again, and that this is maybe 7 or 8 cycles down the line. So those highs and those good moments, they've kind of been diluted a little bit between each cycle, and you're kind of getting to this point. So by the end of the film, you're kind of wondering, well, are they going to trigger the next cycle, or are they going to cut it off here? Because like you say, I mean, they kind of have this connection in part because of their neurodiversity, because, they kind of understand it better than anyone else. And they have that connection that they might not have in the same way with a neurotypical. But again, like Lucy says, that she has highs and lows, but she never has lows as bad as they do. There's always that kind of equilibrium. So yeah, it was just about finding that balance in the story from the start to the finish of this cycle, which we kind of see in the film. And I kind of wrote with particularly for Zuza, because I was sort of starting to develop the script with her in mind. So I was kind of writing with her in mind, so I could kind of envision a lot of the physical movements and stuff because of her bringing her physical performing into the film. So that was really helpful in picturing what I would think she could bring to the table, and then she did, and then more. And then obviously because I'd previously worked with Charlotte on a short film, I knew that she would be professional. She'd turn up and she'd know her lines, but she really exceeded what I was looking for as well. So it was great that what came on set was even more than I kind of envisioned while writing it. Both individually with Zuza and Charlotte, but also collectively those two together, working together, and that energy. Because I think particularly on a relationship drama like this, you need something kind of like a good connection on the screen, good chemistry, even when they're playing two characters where maybe the chemistry isn't really there in real life at that particular moment. So they still have to have that kind of energy on screen together, and that the way they kind of interact.
Yeah, which I think definitely came through.
With something that has a bigger budget, you would probably do a lot of screen tests and see if, like, sometimes somebody plays a really good character, does a really good take of a character in an audition, but then you put them together and they're like, oh, that's a bit, I don't know, they're just not hitting it together, the screen chemistry. And I think, I mean, we were just really lucky with this one.
Yeah. We did our own screen test on Zoom a few days before when going on set. We had a conversation and we're like, that's gonna work.
Try to connect.
Yeah, and we did. Yeah, oh, that was funny.
Well, there's a really interesting way on how your characters are introduced in the movie. Even I think where we obviously it's the first is the dream that you have Zuza, and then you wake up and we're introduced to Amy on the other side of a door that Marie is afraid to knock. Right, that's how we meet her.
Oh, no.
Don't worry about that. Yeah, so it's a very interesting thing. So it's almost like Zuza, you had to introduce both characters at once in your performance, but then also Charlotte, you had to come in knowing that people had a sense of you, I guess, from those couple moments. I think there's the moment where Zuza looks up into the window and you're in the window, and then the light goes out, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I almost wonder if the introducing you two meeting through Zoom first maybe even helped in that regard. That how those characters are introduced to us, because it was a really interesting way to have to do it. And I imagine from an acting standpoint, it's probably not easy either to introduce another character by just them being on the other side of a door and you being afraid to knock, but then also Charlotte, you're coming in knowing that people have a sense of your character already from these couple of moments.
Yeah, well, I think the most maybe difficult part for us as actors here was creating a relationship that is already been going on for like 10 years and already stuff happened in it. So it's not a beginning of relationship. It's we further along the line, they know each other really well, and we kind of jump in straight away to situations like to emotional situations. They already had situations before and something happened. So I think Tom really well wrote those little moments, but also we as actors, we had to kind of create that emotionally and act with the door or with the wall, like, because I think the first day when we were filming, Charlotte, you weren't there, no? Like, you came the day later, so I think I had to imagine she's there, and I had to imagine our whole relationship and the situation, the argument that just happened the night before or something. So this is interesting also from the acting point of view. How do you create that something that when you don't know each other, but you kind of have to act familiar? How do you act knowing someone 10 years, like it's different. So that's something I have to also think my acting coach, my own acting coach, Sylvia, that I worked with before the shooting, because she kind of we went through this a little bit, and she kind of pointed out some things that to think about and to kind of create in your, I don't want to say head, but like in your system, in your like energetic system, when you create all the character, to do that, to kind of to have a relationship that's already kind of broken. So I had to start somewhere. There had to be some good moments. We had to had a very good few years, right, before it started crumbling. So yeah, that's I think what we try to do for like this short time together as well, to kind of connect. So then when we go on set, it's already there. It's somewhere in this house as well as a feeling, Yeah.
It definitely helped to put us in the same house for
Yeah.
for 2 whole days, and that we were the only people that we saw.
Yeah.
Cut off contact for the rest of from the rest of the world, and wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about like how budgets, can sort of change these dynamics. I remember there's that movie Blue Valentine with Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams, where I think they rented a house for like 2 weeks, where they had the character that was their daughter living with them for 2 weeks, and they were like, and it's like, yeah, the idea, like obviously, Tom, the idea of being able to do that, right, for one of your movies, like having that budget to be able to just have the actors do that for 2 weeks, probably not a possibility.
That would be a nice luxury.
2 weeks, no?
I'd spend it on myself though, and rent a nice hotel, 5 stars probably.
Or maybe pay your actors as well.
Yeah.
And pay the camera guy and pay the sound guy.
No. He doesn't get paid, no.
No, the camera guy.
Oh.
I think he got paid in M&Ms.
Yeah,
He did,
chocolate.
yeah.
In chocolate.
M&Ms.
The one we used for filming in one of the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, this was one of the other sort of joys of low budget filmmaking. It was sort of I wore quite a few hats on set and in post.
I think you wore all the hats.
Yeah, you wore all the hats.
And then Ollie as well. He was camera op, director, editor, sound editor.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got to be able to juggle tasks when you're a indie filmmaker, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we're. Go ahead. Sorry, Susan.
Just wanted to say that you have to kind of handle the intensity as well. I think we had very long days, and it's of course when it's your own project, you just don't want to stop. You just don't want to have a break. I think that Tom and Oliver were kind of good. It was like, okay, let's have half an hour to just eat something. But I remember one day I think we were shooting like 16 or 17 hours, and we were like constantly going, and all the emotional scenes on one day. So I had to kind of break my heart and cry like several times a day, like through the whole day. So
don't tell the union.
Oh, they're not going to probably listen to this. I don't know. Maybe they will. Well, that's what happens in the big film sets too, like 16-hour day. That's also kind of a thing, right? But here you just do it and you don't feel it. You don't feel this time because the time passes so quickly, and you're just trying to squeeze as much as possible in this short time we had, and that's why I also maybe felt a bit claustrophobic in the film, like all the emotions. There's also the pressure, the time pressure. So it added to the intensity, maybe, which is in a way good. Like if you think about art of the making film, yeah.
Because also too, right? Because you're filming scenes out of order, and I think especially with both of your characters, where it's not so much that they're developing over the course of the film as kind of like, to Tom's point, they're going through this cycle that they've gone through multiple times, and so it's like, what points in the cycle, I guess, have been revealed to the audience when we're doing this scene, or even maybe to your character, like thinking about like where am I at mentally in this cycle, and sort of having to kind of go between those things, but when you're shooting out of order must be a challenge as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a big challenge for me because we definitely didn't shoot in order. Some things we did, maybe our scenes with Charlotte, we kind of did, but then there was a lot of scenes that John said, okay, that's from that part at the end when you like very emotional, and this like and I had to do at the beginning, and I had to so I had to remember where I am in the in which moment of the script I am, and also the moments in the script also were kind of up and down and up and down. So I had the whole plan of the script, and then it was chopped and shot in a different way. And I just hoped at the end of it, I just hope like it's gonna make sense, because also there was like so many scenes that I'm coming inside the room, or like no, sorry, I'm waking up. And there's like different things happen, either waking up from a dream or waking up. And I was like, which day I'm waking up now? Because I just don't know anymore. And Tom kind of remembered. But I was like, at the end of it, I was just like, I'm so confused. Like, I don't know which day is it anymore. Because it was, in a way, was intense, but in a way, and kind of different. But also, it was kind of repetitive. Like there were few dream sequence and few days, and one day happened, and one day this happened, and the other day this happened, and Amy was once here, once she wasn't, and it was just like, oh my god, literally, it was just, that was a challenge for me.
Don't you think that's her mind anyway? Like,
yeah,
I mean, both of them. Knowing what day is it, and on when is that something did this happen, am I supposed to do that, and those kinds of things, that's kind of how their daily life is.
I think it definitely added to truthfulness of this, because that's true. They are pretty much, most of the time they're pretty confused, like what's going on really, and that's how it is many times. With neurodivergence, so maybe emotionally it added, but to film this and to you have to kind of keep track of like what scenes we are doing. I think it's what Oliver and Tom were like on point with that, because I'll be lost.
Somebody was looking at the script.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I forgot that I was a script supervisor as well.
Yeah,
sure, like trying to get consistency and.
Yeah, I had to run to you many times. Like, Tom, which outfit am I wearing? Is it the black top or the red top? Because I just don't know which scene is. Oh god, yeah, it was intense.
But it definitely comes up. I mean, I again, going back to sort of like you talked about, Charlotte, how almost like the shooting was almost a metaphor for the characters, and in particular, like how Marie was kind of I don't say all over the place, but yeah, she could kind of be bouncing from one thing to another. And I think that's where that scene where she's trying to find the highlighter, it's like you can kind of already see her spinning around the room trying to get these scenes right, and she's sort of marching all over the place. And then she can put the highlighter anywhere, right, while she's in the process of doing that. And then needing the highlighter again, how do you find it? And then at that point when the breakdown happens, and start, and it is, I think, from the setting standpoint, what made it so intense too is that there's a lot of glass everywhere. There's a lot of things that could break, and you're just wondering what's going to happen. And it ends up being her finding cocaine, and suddenly, like, I don't want to say being okay, but sort of suddenly then she finds the highlighter and everything's okay. And then Max shows up, and it's such a fascinating scene. 'Cause I think in so many movies you would expect like a whole bunch of things to break, or it's like this big disaster thing, but actually that's not really what happens. And it kind of makes it, I don't want to say if normal is the right word, I don't know what the right word is, makes it more realistic, I guess, that it comes out that way.
Yeah, no, I don't think we would. Tom would have liked us to break anything in that beautiful house.
I'd still be paying it off on my credit card now, I think, if we would have broken a few glasses. Yeah, they had very state-of-the-art kitchen equipment there as well, so thankfully none of that got broken.
That's true. But also, I think we kind of didn't then give in into like too much, in a way, drama that it's like shown too much. You know what I mean? Like too much of it over the top drama. I think it was kind of like, in a way, suppressed a little bit by the cocaine or other situation that comes next. but in a way it stayed more intense, like in the atmosphere, that the feelings are still there, but they like, you know, they kind of overcame by something else that's coming, that she had to react to the next event. She had to kind of deal with Max in the moment when she was so emotional. So in a way, I think it added to the intensity, the fact that we didn't have stuff breaking, and we haven't had moments that people would expect the film to go, you know, like people would expect maybe to stuff like the house, you know, like falling apart, but it completely went a different direction. So in a way, it was surprising to the audience, possibly.
Well, yeah, because I think that scene, you know, when she rips open the baggie of cocaine, and she gets some of it on her teeth and her nose, and she's sort of starting to kind of settle down a little bit while she's doing that. And then, you know, here comes Max knocking on the door, and he's doing a few different like kind of cute knocks on the door and all that kind of stuff. And then she opens the door. She's like, "What are you doing here? Why did you know? I wasn't planning on you being here." And then he comes in, and instead of being like, "Wow, this is a big mess, maybe I should go," or anything like that, he's like, "Oh, I could go for some of that too." Because I think his character kind of has a crush on Marie. But I think that's also part of it, right? Is that sometimes there's these moments that you know, we think of like, okay, well, society might not, you know, I don't want to say placate, or you know, they would be considered kind of outside the bounds of how people should act in society. But then when you get a character like Max who's like okay with it, he's almost enabling it in a way. I don't know if that's maybe the right word, because it's not always the best that he's there doing that. But
I feel like he's taking advantage of it.
right,
You know?
yeah.
I would really like to hear from Tom, like what he thinks of his character, because we haven't actually spoken about Alex, but he's a very interesting character in this film.
Yeah, well, originally there was two characters. So my character is basically an amalgamation of two, because my brother was also going to be appearing on camera as well.
Yes,
It just,
sure.
but by the time we were sort of thrust in, and we were shooting a lot of Zuza's moments where she's by herself to start with. Also, my brother forgot an important bit of the camera to start the film. So he had to make a 3-hour round trip back to his place to get this piece and then come back. So in that sort of meantime, I thought we're going to have to lose one of these characters. And also just the practicality of Oliver
having
focusing
nobody on camera shooting these two
that
guys
as well.
on camera.
I mean, I know influencers are used to that, but in filmmaking, it's a lot more difficult. So we just thought my brother went to acting school for quite a few years. He started off being more interested in filmmaking. Then he went to acting. Then he went back to filmmaking. And so it would have been more natural for him to be the sort of actor and step in. But yeah, we fused them together, and I just sort of decided to take on the role.
Well done.
But yeah, he's a little bit of a slightly meta joke on, I suppose, the depiction of some indie filmmakers that kind of make films that are sort of a bit trashy, and maybe an excuse to get women sort of wearing tight leather costumes and things like that. So he's kind of like this sort of not so subtle dig at that kind of thing, sort of B-movie horror directors. I'm sure we've all met them in the sort of the network circles, but yeah, so he was a little bit of a sort of in-joke. He was sort of based on a character my brother used to play, because he used to sort of record himself playing different characters, one of which was called Max. So he was partly based on that as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of acting, but I don't mind it. I'm cheaper anyway than hiring another actor. And yeah, at that point, we didn't really have time to bring anyone else in. But initially, my brother was going to be playing the guy that did most of the talking in the scenes, and I would just sort of stand in the background and occasionally do a pratfall. So
You ended up having to do all the lines.
I do, yeah. Lines, and still did all my own stunts as well.
Yeah, there was a stunt.
There was that.
Yeah, but I think those the smaller roles like yours, Tom, for example, it added so much to the complexity of the main characters because all those situations and kind of it kind of interacting with the outside world which Max represents, her career, the people she works with, the people she has to deal with in her working life. It adds so much, and this is also was a little bit of a comic relief, I think, character in
Totally.
this. Yeah, like
Yeah.
we made the scenes kind of look a bit funny, a bit cliche, like on purpose, with the banana and stuff. But I think it also like it's added to who she is, and with all that complexity, like what she has to deal with on an outside.
No, I thought it was perfect. I thought it came out really well, and it is, like you said, we kind of go through these progressions with that character just in that moment, right, where she's in the outfit, she's sitting across from Max, and Max is like, "Oh no, this is great." I mean, I could, try some other ones for you, but this is great. And she's like, "But my character's in Helsinki in the winter. Like, is this what I'm really be wearing this?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he leaves, and she goes through that moment where she's trying to get the outfit off, and she's just really frustrated by everything, and it's kind of metaphorically coming out through her not able to get the outfit off. She does get the outfit off. She starts to settle down a bit, and then Alex calls, played by Nathan Shepka, who is the one that she gets work through, sort of like bartending job or serving jobs, that kind of thing, I think. But we find out that he is the one also that provides her with cocaine, that when she works with him, because he snorts a bump off his finger right at the end of that scene. So there's a lot that kind of happens there in that moment. And then from there, right, we discover that Amy is gone, right? She's like trying to call Amy and get a hold of Amy, and she can't. So it's kind of interesting, that progression, but it starts with that kind of, like you said, that kind of like, I would say almost like a comedic moment that you'd have there where she's in the outfit and then the thing with the banana and all of that kind of happens there before we get to those really intense moments.
I think for like the audience, the film really needed that. Like if the whole thing had not, like if we were just looking at the whole film, watching the whole film, and like intensity of what goes on in their minds and their emotions and their relationship and their, you know, it's I don't think, like, there's just no breathing space for the audience. You need those little moments.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the beauty of the script that it's not one thing, and it's not like going and it's not like on the same level of, I would say, intensity or the same kind of tone. Like that we have very intense moments, but then we have a little bit lighter moments, and I
Then
think,
we have
as
the
you said,
nightmares.
yeah, and then we have so we have a lot of different things, and it changes. And as you say, Charlotte, it's good to kind of have that because it breathes a bit, and then it's kind of, I think it makes it more interesting to watch as well. No, what do you think, Matt? About, like, was it
Yeah, I was
interesting to
wondering,
watch?
what do you think, Matt?
What do
Like,
you
did
think
you?
about the film?
No, I mean, the movie was it was a very moving movie for me. And I think, to your point about the intensity, having those moments where you kind of pull back, and it is, whether it's the goofy interactions with Max, or even just Amy and Marie having nice moments together where they're more affectionate with each other, and you get a sense that they make a great couple in those moments. Or I think also too, when Marie is meeting with her acting coach, with Clara, I think those are also really nice moments. But I think also too, the way Tom can turn those, where she has a nightmare about Clara being mean to her, and so then when we see Marie with Clara, and Clara is being much more, I don't know if maternal is the right word, maybe more like big sisterly, maybe, perhaps something like. But she's being kind to her and trying to help her and saying, "Hey, if you want to talk to me about anything, not just acting, I'm here for you." We get this feeling of like maybe kind of what Marie would be feeling of, like, I just had this nightmare about this woman, and so I want to be, I want to take her kindness and have it, and so it's like this nice moment, but it also has that little tinge of like uncomfortableness that you can kind of feel for Marie. And so I liked how the movie had all that large range of things. So like you said, you can take a break or have fun, but then also there's tension. I liked it. It really ran the gamut for that.
Yeah, I mean that was our intention really from the off. I mean, I wanted to write something that had a bit of everything. So not to be too unrelentingly grim, but have these moments of hope in it and those nice connections with the characters. But even from a functional thing, I wanted to kind of have a few more characters in there. So we've got Lucy in there. She's obviously in there over Zoom, and that was kind of like pre-recorded. That had its own sort of challenges in that as well.
Technical,
yeah. But it was just a case of like fleshing out the cast and having more interactions to, have a bit more range in the film, because it would be very difficult to rest the film on just two characters for 80 minutes, and particularly when large chunks would just be on Zusa having to carry the film as well. So it just gives a little break every now and again, gives people some, another actor to kind of play off. But it was good. I mean, it was almost an afterthought with Nathan to do a role as well, because initially he was just going to be a voice role. But I just thought, actually I might ask him to do a little cameo. So he shot that. His little comedic moment was actually an ad lib. So he did a couple of different takes. He did one serious one, a little bit more comedic. So we opted for the more comedic one.
Oh yeah, good choice.
Yeah.
Good shout.
Yeah, no, it all worked really well. I mean, I think the number one thing about this movie for me is that it is just a very human movie. I think it's one thing that's good about the dream sequences is that you get these sort of fantastical moments that are kind of not as steeped in reality, which I think it's good for a movie to have. But I think the fact that the movie is just so human, I think, part of the reason why, discussing this part on the other side of the spoiler wall is that, spoiler for people, hopefully you're not listening to this at this point, because but what I think I loved about the end of the movie is that it's not like there's a resolution necessarily. It's not like everybody's fixed or everybody makes a decision to leave or split up or do anything like that. There's not like a scene of packing up the house and moving away or anything like that. It's just sort of left as like, okay, we've gone through this cycle again. Are we going to start the cycle again? And we don't know.
Now what? Yeah. It's a bit of a now what, now what happens, and we go again.
Yeah, I think it's actually much more disturbing, especially in the ending of the film, to keep asking questions and leave it as a question rather than give answers or give solutions, or as when you have a film and then they like even shake hands or, as you say, pack the house. Like, this is something that is finished, and then people watch the film and they go home and forget about it. And here we have still a question, and then we don't know, and we leave the people in the area. We don't know what's going to happen, or what even happened. Like, what's that film about? I think, I don't know, what was your thought, Matt, just straight after watching the film? But for me, even, I shot it, but then I watched it and I was like, whoa, what now? What, like, exactly like you, Charlotte, said, like, what was it? What was that all about? And I have to go away and think about it, and I hope for audience will be similar kind of experience.
Yeah, I think that's one of the advantages to doing a movie like this, where it's really more about humans interacting and dealing with different issues and sort of coming out on the other side, is that you can end it the way that this one ended. I think if this was like a thriller, right, where you want to know, did the bad guy get caught, right, or
yeah,
right, right, and this there's no good guys or bad guys in this movie. There's just people, but very compelling, right, very compelling moments and very compelling people. And I think that's one thing that's great about this, is that I think it ends better this way, because that's kind of how most human stories end, right? Is that you just sort of, okay, this is Wednesday now. What are we going to do on Thursday? And we get this slice of their life for that period, and it is, like, again, it's very moving. So yeah, I appreciated the ending, because I think it fit what the rest of the movie was going for.
Was there anything you didn't like about the movie, Matt?
Yeah, that's, oh no,
yeah.
Tell us.
Right. It's hard to say, because I think, going into it, I think I I wasn't sure, what I was going to see. So I think being so moved by the moments that happened in the movie, I was trying to think if there's something I didn't like or something that didn't fit. And I don't know if there's anything that didn't fit because I think the performances were so moving and the story and everything was so moving that I don't know if there's something where I'd be like, oh, I wish I had more of this or more of that. Like I don't know because I didn't really think about. I probably should have thought about what what didn't work for me, but I don't know that there was something like I don't know if there's a point where the movie drags or anything like that, or if there's things that the characters do that's not realistic, within those characters. I felt like I think you both nailed those characters really well, and I think the way that they're introduced, I think also helps. So that, like, for example, when Charlotte, when Amy has her first kind of manic, angry moment when she's painting and she starts kind of freaking out. I feel like we have enough of how the way that she was introduced that like there was nothing inorganic about it when it does happen. And I guess that's something I always look for in a movie. Is I want things to happen organically, and I want to be, I want to feel something. I want to be like, Tom has written some real thrillers that I've we've talked about on here. I think this was the most intense of his movies for me. This is where I was like,
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
More than his thrillers.
right. I mean, I think that scene again where Zuza, where you're again trying to find your highlighter. I don't know if there's a scene of any of the other ones that we've talked about of your movies, Tom, that has really kind of struck me like that one. I think also the scene where Zuza comes back and finds Amy drinking, or drunk, I should say, drinking and drunk outside, and that interaction there was also like really intense. I think, when movies have moments like that, for me, that's sort of what I grasp onto. So yeah, I guess I wasn't thinking about like what I don't like about it. I was like thinking about what I liked as I was going through it.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I think it's a very hard thing to kind of judge when you're like on an inside shooting the film, because from my perspective, because I kind of thought, well, I don't know if I'm gonna like it if I watch it, like I was a bit worried that I'm gonna watch it and I'm not gonna like something or my performance. But now I think it was such a surreal and intense experience of shooting it and what we wanted to do, what we did do and we didn't because there was not enough time or technical, there were some technical issues and we had to cut stuff out. It's such a surreal experience that I can't even watch this film and not think about it. And as you say, it's very hard to kind of think what could be different. I don't really know. And it's like, it's an experience I have now. It's not like of what the audience will experience. So they will have a movie and they will just watch it from the beginning till the end. It's just combination of all this and everything that happened around and all the relationship we had on set and around the set and before. So yeah, it's like it's a cluster of so many things. What do you guys think now? What do you think? What did you think after you watched it, Charlotte, for example? Because you haven't.
You know what? I couldn't. I'll be very honest with you. I couldn't really watch it because I came away from the shoot and I knew that I was okay because Tom and Oliver were very good at taking care of us, and I just thought, okay, I'm okay, I'm just checking in, I'm okay. And then when Tom sent the movie over, I'm like, yay, it's come. And then I watched it a little bit, and I watched it to the part, when you had when you were in the shower, and I had that art scene, and I thought, oh, I'm not sure I can watch this thing. And so I watched it, and then I kind of clicked through. I clicked through because I'm like, for me as an actor professionally, I always watch back my things because I feel like I'm usually able to detach and look at it from a very technical, like, oh, did I look at the camera this way, and did I, was my timing good, those kinds of technical things that I like to do, not like to do that, but I've trained myself to be able to do that so that the next job I have, I'm a little bit quicker on picking up things technically. But this film, I'll say I didn't watch it. I clicked through it. Like I watched, and then I'm like, I can't watch this part because I can't remember. I actually remember the feelings and other things, and I'm like, I can't watch this part. So I clicked past it, and then so I didn't watch the whole film because it was really, really hard for me to watch. I watched the funny bits,
To be honest, it was difficult to watch, and for me, not so much that I was watching myself, and I was worried about my performance before, but after the first scene, I was like, I'm okay. It's not too bad, right? Like it's
Not too
works.
bad.
Like it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So then I kind of watched it, and I forgot that much that it's a film, you know, like that we made it. But it was triggering, and even my own scenes were triggering for me. And I was like, my God, this is too intense. And I did that, so I should be fine with
Yeah.
it, right? But I was not.
No, I
So
think watching it back, for me, watching back was more, it was harder than doing it. Because I think when we were
oh
there,
yeah.
when we were shooting it, I was conscious that like I'm gonna be on the edge. I'm gonna fall over a little bit, and I can pick myself up, and then I'm gonna play, and I'm gonna imagine, and that's not real, and it's it's not really me, but it may be triggering, but it's not me, and then we can get through it. When I was watching it, I didn't put up any guardrails, if you like. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get some footage. What can I use for my show reel? And I just sat there and I'm like, I can't really watch this. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was much easier to shoot it in a way that it was intense, it was emotional. But for example, I loved it. Like I loved every moment of intensity. I love this kind of acting, and if it was a physical or was emotional with Charlotte or on my own, actually I preferred with other person. I think it flows better. When I
Yeah,
was
that's
on
more
my own, it
energy.
was more difficult to kind of talk to a wall or something, and I had to
You're
kind of
trying to
imagine stuff.
drag it out of
Yeah, a
yourself.
little bit. Yeah, I definitely work better with when there's another person there. But it was, I loved every moment of it. And then to be honest, watching is much more difficult. And although I didn't think that much of like, what's my performance like, I was like, we've done it. It's done now. Like I can't even change it now. So like I'm not gonna stress too much. But there were moments in a film that was just intense, that the topic and what we did and stuff. So yeah, I understand, Matt, when you're saying that this scene was difficult and this was triggering and it was hard because it's a lot of raw emotions there, and I think it's easier for me to do those emotions and express them. I feel good after that, but
Yeah,
then
because you've
for
let it
people
out.
watching, they triggering and people have to take it in. I think that might be difficult. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, does this film have any trigger warnings?
Very emotional.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Tom, like, is that when when we're putting it out there, do we say, trigger warnings?
I don't think so. Maybe in the ratings on it might, because it'll probably have something like it's got very intense scenes. That some
nudity,
viewers
but not too
might,
much.
and that as well. I suppose it would depend on the individual platforms it ends up on, their kind of rating system. Like Amazon normally they'll have trigger warnings and warnings about, I don't know, nudity or violence or anything like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because in the United States, right, the big thing would be the nudity. That would be the big, they wouldn't want that. Whereas I think the triggering scenes, to your point, Charlotte, like are, I mean, I think for me, obviously, that scene when Amy is drunk and there's that sort of that physical confrontation. But I think anybody who grew up with with parents that maybe have, dealt with certain disorders, like I think borderline personality is not used anymore, but similar concept where the sort of the manic scene of Zuza going around, or Marie going around the kitchen looking for that highlighter and slamming things around. I think I could think of people that would see that scene and probably think, yeah, boy, that cuts really close to home. So yeah, to your point, but it's hard because it's hard to sort of a movie that's this raw emotionally. I think is very different from when you're watching like an action movie that has tons of violence in it, but it's like this cartoonish kind of violence that I don't want to talk for somebody who's been a victim of violence, but I think it's I know for me growing up, I remember when I watched RoboCop. I watched the edited version where it was like really scary when people got shot. And then I watched the unedited version. It was so goofy and over the top that I was like, as a 10 or 8, 9 or 10-year-old, I wasn't that scared by it. And this is like very real kind of stuff that I think like compared again to some of the, thinking about, Death Among the Pines, where, somebody's getting killed with an axe and it's kind of done like in a horror kind of way. It's very different from what you're seeing in this movie.
Yeah, it's interesting conversation, isn't it? Because now, I think we kind of a bit more used to this kind of violence that's very gore or it's like a horror film. Like there's a lot of it, and I think people get a bit detached now, or maybe not so bothered, or maybe they treat it as just like a horror film, whatever. And then we have now a conversation about neurodiversity and intimacy coordination and all the emotional stuff, and maybe there should be some warnings that are different, emotional warnings for people with trauma or with PTSD or with other disorders that might be triggered by those kind of scenes we made. And maybe there isn't yet something like this as a rating, but maybe there should be, right? There is definitely the self-harm and stuff, that there are warnings, I think, for that, but not for like intense emotional scenes. I haven't actually came across that, but now that we see the violence and intensity, emotionality a bit different now, so that's something to maybe talk about between other filmmakers and other films in the future as well.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that was a good question.
Sure. Well, yeah. Well, looking at the timer, I guess we're kind of closing in on almost 2 hours. So yeah, I know you're both wondering if we're going to go 2 hours. We haven't didn't take that long to get there. But maybe as we're wrapping up, anything else that hasn't been covered about the movie that anybody wanted to mention?
What should we mention? Oh.
Not at the moment. So yeah, it's going to be out 31st of March on DVD and Blu-ray in the US, on Amazon at the moment, and then we're just waiting for the final confirmation on when it will come to streaming, and I would imagine that will be around the world.
Yay!
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And also we have a Instagram and TikTok for the film. So if you want to follow for any updates or anything, or interviews and more information and conversation about neurodivergent relationships, then follow us. Yeah, on Instagram, We Go Again Movie.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'll put the link to that in the description of the podcast. And go ahead. Yeah, I was going to. Yeah.
Just one more thing I wanted to add, that the fire you see in the film, it's not CGI. It's a real fire that I do.
It's a real piece of fire-breathing dragon.
I did a fire breathing, and it was a real fire. That's what I do. I perform with fire in life. So I just wanted to add that. Didn't use any CGI effects.
Yeah, it didn't look like CGI. I forget to mention that part.
Oh.
So that's a dream sequence, right? That Amy has, where she goes outside and encounters Marie doing the fire, breathing the fire.
Well, we don't know that it's Marie. We just see some.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah.
Dragon.
Kind of, yeah, suggestion of a monster in her life.
Right. Because that was an interesting scene, because that was Amy's one dream sequence, right? Like, I don't think she had any other dream sequences in the film.
No, I think she did.
Oh,
She
did
had
you?
another one.
Yeah.
That was
Maybe
her. Yeah, the first two were Marie's, and then that last one was Amy's.
Right.
No, I'm gonna. I think we had another. Oh no, it's because we shot it that way. She got it all mixed up in my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It's just Amy just has that one sequence.
Yeah.
And that's the one before she leaves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was those sequences. Like I said, I think what I liked about the dream sequence is that, like, the rest of the movie felt so real that to have those moments to sort of take us out of that, I thought was a really great way to do that.
Yeah. That was fun to film.
Oh yeah.
Now, any social media or anything that anybody wants to plug as well?
No, we as I said, we have Instagram and TikTok, so you can follow us on both for the film updates. And that's it for me. Tom?
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
What about you, Charlotte? Any
No.
Instagram?
Yeah. Not really. So I mean, yeah, whatever we have. So please follow us and find out what happens to the film.
And please watch the film. I mean,
Yes.
Yeah, watch the film. because we talk about it a lot, and then now you have to see it for yourself, and write a review, write a comment. I mean, just tell us what you think, and if you don't like it, tell us too, because I'm really curious what people think.
No, absolutely.
I'm sure not everyone's gonna like everything. At the end, we didn't get into any major festivals, so I guess there was something they didn't like. So I would like to hear it, because I would like to hear, some kind of feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because it's such an intense movie, and I think also because there isn't it's not like a genre film, so you don't have like a thriller or a good guy and a bad guy to I can see how some people might watch this and think like, okay, well, what was I supposed to think? Whereas I think for me, I watched it and I said, did I feel something watching this movie? Like what, and did I care, about what was happening to these characters? I think that those are questions I ask myself. And so if I feel something, like if I'm, if my pulse is going up a little bit or, something like that. And if I care about what happens to the characters, for me, that's what I'm looking for. And there might be people that are looking for other things in a movie, or they might watch this and not have those same feelings, which that's a possibility too, I guess. But I think my advice is everybody should watch it. I think this is a really great movie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Matt.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. This was a ton of fun. I always like having these sort of conversations, sort of like after I see the movie, to kind of find out either was I wrong about what I was thinking about how something came out, or even just knowing how the process went. It's always so much fun, especially when I enjoy the movie. I always want to know. I want to dig in more and find out about it. So thank you all for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Matt, as always.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody for listening. And yes, go out and see We Go Again. Definitely try to pick this up however you can. And stay tuned on our space, because I'll probably post on social media when it does make it to streamers as well. So people will know that too. But yeah, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll be back soon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Direct to video.